Advanced settings control how Insight operates on end-user devices. This includes the methods used to monitor the movement of sensitive data, the applications, URLs, and file extensions that are included or excluded from monitoring, and how devices communicate with the management console. Each advanced setting only applies to the devices it's been assigned to. The one exception is the advanced setting marked as default, which is automatically applied to new devices added to the management console. Given how much ground this video covers, the rest of this video walks through each section in order, covering what each setting does, why it matters, and what changes depending on whether it's enabled or left as is. An advanced setting has to be created before any of its monitoring parameters can be configured. Once created, it starts in an inactive state and needs to be configured before it can be activated and applied to devices. Navigate to Insight. Then Advanced Settings. Click New Advanced Setting. This opens the Policy Info tab, where the basic identity of the setting is defined before moving into configuration. The copy settings from is optional. Selecting an existing advanced setting here copies its configuration into the new one. This is useful when a new setting only needs minor variations from an existing baseline, rather than building from scratch. Enter a setting name that clearly identifies this configuration. Add a description outlining what the setting is for, who it applies to, or how it differs from other settings in use. Set as default setting is also optional. Enabling it marks this as the organization-wide default, which is automatically assigned to every newly created user. Only one default setting can exist at a time, so enabling it here replaces whichever setting currently holds that role. Leaving it off means this setting has to be assigned manually rather than applied automatically. After configuring, click Next. Each setting in this section can be enabled or disabled individually. Disabling a setting reverts it to its default state and turns off the functionality it controls. The sections are covered in order below. Environment setting controls the intervals, durations, timeouts, and bandwidth used for uploading reports and downloading policies and commands. Click Add Setting. Client responsiveness determines how frequently devices check in, download commands, and upload reports. Normal operation is the default, checking in every 15 minutes. Responsive shortens this to 5 minutes and very responsive to 1 minute. Shortening the interval means policy changes and enforcement apply faster, but it also increases network and system load. So this is worth adjusting only where near real-time enforcement is actually needed. Enable Chromium extensions provides an alternative way to monitor browsers, working at the browser level rather than the network level. This is disabled by default. It's worth enabling where network-level monitoring alone isn't sufficient or isn't available in the environment. Incognito and private browsing controls, whether private browsing windows can be opened at all. By default, private browsing is allowed. This setting only becomes available once Chromium extensions are enabled, since Chromium extensions can't be forced to load in private windows except Microsoft Edge. Blocking private browsing prevents unmonitored activity outright. Allowing it without monitoring should only be done where that's genuinely acceptable. There's also a Microsoft Edge-specific option, which allows and monitors private windows in Edge specifically, while still blocking private browsing in every other browser. Where users need private browsing in other browsers, network-level monitoring, covered shortly, can be used instead to capture user activity. File system-level monitoring uses a driver to monitor uploads by tracking network information tied to files, and is enabled by default. Disabling it is appropriate only where file system-level monitoring isn't required, or where it conflicts with other endpoint software already running in the environment. Passive monitoring of file uploads to cloud drives offers an alternative method for catching cloud drive uploads at the file system level, and is disabled by default. Enable it where file system-level monitoring alone isn't fully capturing upload activity to cloud drives. Network-level monitoring uses either WFP or LSP, both Windows technologies used to inspect network traffic. WFP is the default. LSP is the alternative, and switching to it is only necessary where WFP is incompatible with the environment or conflicts with other network drivers already in place. USB monitoring tracks both the insertion of USB devices and any file transfers to them, and is enabled by default. It should only be disabled where a separate solution already handles USB monitoring or isn't required at all. GuardWare file protection prevents end users from editing or deleting files within the GuardWare program files and program data folders, and is enabled by default. Disabling it should be temporary and limited to maintenance or troubleshooting. GuardWare process protection works the same way, but for the GuardWare processes themselves, preventing end users from terminating them, like file protection, it's enabled by default and should only be disabled temporarily. Applications monitored at network level defines which applications are monitored for sensitive data uploads at the network level. Importantly, the proxy can only monitor applications that are explicitly included here. If an application isn't selected, its traffic simply isn't captured, regardless of what it's uploading. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. A default set of applications comes pre-selected. To add more, search for the application and select its checkbox. If an application isn't listed, enter its executable name, for example chrome.exe in the Add Application field, then click Add Application. Once added, select its checkbox to actually include it in monitoring, since adding an application to the list and enabling monitoring for it are two separate steps. IP addresses not monitored at network level defines IP addresses that are excluded from sensitive data monitoring altogether. It's typically used for internal applications that are already considered secure and don't need this layer of scrutiny. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Enter the IP address in the Add IP field and click Add IP. Confirm the address appears in the list, then close the window. Websites monitored at network level controls which SSL certificate common names are included in or excluded from network level monitoring. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Selecting Include means only the websites listed here are monitored, everything else is left alone. Selecting Exclude flips this, monitoring every website except the ones listed. Search for and select a website, or enter its certificate common name directly and click Add Website. Confirm the website appears in the list. Websites monitored by Chromium extensions works the same way as the previous setting, but applies to URLs monitored specifically through Chromium extensions rather than at the network level. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Include restricts monitoring to only the URLs listed. Exclude monitors everything except the URLs listed. Search for and select a website, or enter its URL directly and click Add Website. Confirm the entry appears in the list. Applications monitored at file system level defines which applications are monitored for sensitive data uploads at the file system level, separate from network level monitoring covered earlier. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. A default set of applications is pre-selected. To add more, select the checkbox next to the relevant application in the list. If an application isn't listed, enter its executable name in the Add Application field and click Add Application. Once added, select its checkbox to include it in monitoring. Applications excluded from keystroke monitoring defines applications where keystrokes aren't checked for sensitive data. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Search for an application and select its checkbox to add it to the exclusion list. To remove an application later, click the X beside it in the selected applications list. Websites excluded from keystroke monitoring works the same way, but for websites rather than applications. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Search for and select a website, or enter its URL directly and click Add Website. To remove a website, click the X beside it in the selected websites list. Applications excluded from copy-paste monitoring defines apps where copy-paste activity isn't checked for sensitive data. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Search for an application and select its checkbox to add it. To remove one, click the X beside it in the selected applications list. Websites excluded from copy-paste monitoring applies the same principle as the application's version, just for websites instead. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Search and select a website, then click Add Website. To remove, click the X beside it in selected websites. File extensions monitored at file system level controls, which file extensions are included or excluded from file system level monitoring for sensitive data uploads. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. Include limits monitoring only for the listed extensions. Exclude monitors every extension except those listed. Enter the extension in the Add Extension field, for example PDF, XLSX, or ZIP, and click Add. Confirm the extension appears in the list. For websites using end-to-end encryption, network monitoring alone can't intercept file uploads, since the traffic itself is encrypted in a way that prevents inspection. Where an end-to-end encrypted website is permitted, and there's a concern that sensitive data could still be uploaded through it, both file system monitoring and network monitoring need to be active together. Click Add Setting to open the configuration window. A default set of websites is pre-selected. To add more, enter the website using the format URL, then a hash symbol, then a title substring, for example whatsapp.com/WhatsApp, and click Add. To remove a website, click the X next to its entry. Once all required settings are configured, scroll to the top of the page and click Review and Save. A summary of every configured setting appears in the side panel. Review the configuration. To make changes, close the panel, update the relevant settings, and click Review and Save again. Once everything is correct, click Save to apply the configuration. Before assigning an advanced setting, the Insight client needs to already be installed on the devices being monitored. Ensure those devices appear in the Management Console under Devices Insight, then continue here. Navigate to Insight, then Advanced Settings. Click Assign Devices next to the setting you want to apply. Select the devices to assign the setting to, or deselect devices to remove it from them. Click Add to apply the changes. A few things are worth keeping in mind here. A device can only have one advanced setting assigned at a time, though a single advanced setting can be assigned to multiple devices. Assigning a new setting to a device automatically replaces whichever setting was previously assigned. There's no need to remove the old one manually. And if a setting is ever deleted, any devices assigned to it automatically revert to the default setting, provided one exists, since the default setting itself can't be deleted without first removing the assigned devices to it. Navigate to Insight, then Advanced Settings. Click Edit next to the relevant setting. Update whichever fields or settings need changing. Click Review and Save to review the changes. Click Update to confirm. To delete an advanced setting, navigate to Advanced Settings. Click Delete next to the relevant setting. Click Yes, delete it to confirm. Any devices assigned to this setting will automatically revert to the default setting once it's removed. To get a complete overview of GuardWare and its features, visit the documentation site at docs.guardware.com.